The Providence County Courthouse was an old brick building, its wood-paneled courtroom a blend of grandeur and wear. Judge Frank Caprio presided from the bench, his presence both commanding and approachable. At 74, he'd seen it all: petty disputes, tearful confessions, and the occasional case that cut straight to the heart. Today, as he reviewed the file for Russo vs. Moretti, he sensed this one might be the latter. "All rise," the bailiff called, and the room stood as Judge Caprio entered. He settled into his chair, his expression warm but focused. "Good morning, everyone. Let's get started. This is a civil case alleging discrimination and emotional distress. Mr. Russo, you're representing yourself?" Daniel stood, his hands clasped in front of him. "Yes, Your Honor. I couldn't afford a lawyer, but I'm here to tell my story." Caprio nodded, his eyes softening. "That's just fine, Mr. Russo. We're here to listen. And Mr. Moretti, you have counsel?" Vincent's attorney, a sleek man named Richard Hale, rose. "Yes, Your Honor. I represent Mr. Moretti and Bella Vita." "Very well," Caprio said. "Mr. Russo, why don't you tell us what happened?" Daniel took a deep breath, his voice steady but laced with emotion. He recounted the night at Bella Vita, the hostess's hesitation, Vincent's cold dismissal, the sting of being called a drifter. He described the gift card, his daughter's gift, and how he'd wanted to honor her kindness. "I wasn't looking for trouble, Your Honor," he said. "I just wanted to eat. I served this country, lost friends, carried wounds you can't see. And that man," he pointed at Vincent, "he didn't just kick me out. He took my dignity in front of everyone." The courtroom was silent, save for the faint hum of the heater. Caprio leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "Mr. Russo, that's a powerful statement. Do you have any evidence to support your account?" Daniel reached into his jacket and pulled out a small photograph. "This is all I've got, Your Honor. It's not much, but it's something." He handed it to the bailiff, who passed it to Caprio. The judge studied the image, a blurry cell phone shot of Daniel standing outside Bella Vita, the restaurant's glowing sign in the background. His face was partially visible, but the expression was unmistakable, a mix of shock and hurt. Caprio's eyes narrowed. "When was this taken?" "Right after I was told to leave," Daniel said. "A passerby saw what happened and took it. She said she was sorry, but she didn't want to get involved." Caprio held up the photo. "This doesn't show the incident itself, but it does show you were there, looking, well, like you'd just been through something. Let's hear from the defense. Mr. Hale?" Hale stood smoothing his jacket. "Your Honor, my client acknowledges Mr. Russo was asked to leave Bella Vita, but it was a misunderstanding, not discrimination. Bella Vita has a strict dress code, and Mr. Russo's attire didn't meet our standards. Mr. Moretti was protecting the ambiance for his paying customers." Caprio raised an eyebrow. "Protecting the ambiance? By calling a man a filthy drifter?" "That's what Mr. Russo claims, and it's a pretty specific phrase." Hale hesitated, then recovered. "Your Honor, Mr. Moretti denies using those exact words. He was firm, yes, but only because Mr. Russo became argumentative." Daniel's voice cut through the room. "That's a lie. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't get a chance to." Caprio held up a hand. "Mr. Russo, you'll have your turn. Mr. Hale, you're saying this was about a dress code. Did your client know Mr. Russo was a veteran?" Hale glanced at Vincent, who shook his head slightly. "No, Your Honor. My client had no knowledge of Mr. Russo's military service. This wasn't about his status. It was about maintaining a professional environment." Caprio leaned back, his fingers steepled. "All right, Mr. Moretti, why don't you tell me your side?" Vincent stood, his voice smooth but tinged with defensiveness. "Your Honor, Bella Vita is my life's work. I built it from nothing, and our customers expect a certain experience. Fine food, fine atmosphere. That night, Mr. Russo came in looking unkempt. His jacket was old, his boots scuffed. I didn't know he was a veteran, and I didn't call him a drifter. I just asked him to leave because he didn't fit our image." Caprio's eyes twinkled with a hint of mischief. "Your image? Mr. Moretti, I've been to plenty of restaurants in my day, and I've seen all kinds of folks enjoying a meal. Are you saying a man with a gift card, money to spend, wasn't good enough for your tables because of his jacket?" Vincent flushed. "It's not just the jacket, Your Honor. It's the whole presentation. People judge a place by who's sitting next to them." The judge chuckled softly, but his tone sharpened. "So you judged Mr. Russo before he even sat down. Interesting. Mr. Russo, do you have anything else to add?" Daniel stood again, his hands trembling slightly. Your Honor, I don't have fancy words or a lawyer to spin this, but I've got this. He tapped his chest where the bronze star pin gleamed. I earned this saving lives under fire. I didn't think I'd have to fight for a seat at a table in my own country. A murmur rippled through the courtroom. Caprio's face softened, but he kept his tone even. That's a strong point, Mr. Russo. Let's take a short recess. I want to think this over. In the hallway, Daniel sat alone on a bench, staring at the photograph he'd submitted. It wasn't much, he knew. A blurry image that didn't capture the words or the shame, but it was all he had. He thought of Emily, who still didn't know about the lawsuit. He'd wanted to shield her, to keep her proud of him. Now he wasn't so sure he'd done the right thing. Across the hall, Vincent paced, his lawyer whispering urgently. You should have settled, Vince, Hale said. Caprio's got a soft spot for underdogs, and that veteran's story is gold. Vincent scowled. Settle? For what? I didn't do anything wrong. The guy looked like he hadn't showered in a week. My customers would have walked out. Hale sighed. You called him a drifter. If Russo's telling the truth, you're cooked. Caprio's not going to let that slide. Vincent stopped pacing, his eyes narrowing. He's got no proof. It's his word against mine. Back in the courtroom, Judge Caprio sat in his chambers. The case file spread before him. He'd seen hundreds of disputes, but this one gnawed at him. Daniel's story rang true, too specific, too raw to be fabricated. But Vincent's denial was adamant, and without witnesses, it was a classic he said, she said. The photograph, though, intrigued him. It wasn't evidence of the incident, but it was a window into Daniel's state of mind. Caprio tapped his pen against the desk, an idea forming. When court reconvened, Caprio's demeanor was calm but purposeful. Folks, I've been thinking about this case, and I want to dig a little deeper. Mr. Russo, you said a passerby took that photo. Did you get her name? Daniel shook his head. No, Your Honor. She was just a stranger. She saw me standing there, looking, well, like I did. Offered to take the picture and send it to me. Caprio nodded thoughtfully. And Mr. Moretti, you say you didn't call Mr. Russo a drifter, but you admit you asked him to leave because of his appearance, correct? Vincent nodded, cautious. Yes, Your Honor. All right, Caprio said, leaning forward. Here's what's bothering me. Mr. Russo, you're claiming emotional distress, and I believe you felt it. That photo shows a man who's been hurt. But Mr. Moretti, you're saying this was just business, nothing personal. So let's test that. Mr. Russo, do you have anything else, anything at all, that might shed light on what happened? Daniel hesitated, then reached into his pocket. I didn't think this mattered, Your Honor, but I wrote something down that night, in my truck, after it happened. He pulled out a folded piece of paper, its edges worn. It's just my thoughts, but it's got the date and time. Caprio gestured for the bailiff to bring it over. He unfolded the paper and read silently, his expression unreadable. Then he looked up. Mr. Russo, this is a journal entry, written the night of the incident. It says, November 12th, 2024, 7:45 p.m., Bella Vita. Hostess wouldn't seat me. Owner called me a filthy drifter. Said I didn't belong. Felt like I was nothing again. The courtroom stirred. Hale's face tightened, and Vincent shifted in his seat. Caprio held up the paper. This isn't definitive proof, but it's compelling. It's dated, it's specific, and it matches Mr. Russo's testimony. Mr. Moretti, do you want to revise your statement? Vincent's jaw clenched. Your Honor, I don't know what he wrote, but I didn't say that. He's making it up to make me look bad. Caprio's eyes twinkled with that familiar mix of humor and steel. Making it up? Mr. Moretti, I've been doing this a long time, and I've got a pretty good nose for when someone's spinning a tale. Let me ask you something else. Does Bella Vita have security cameras? Vincent froze. Hale jumped in. Your Honor, we haven't reviewed any footage. It's possible the cameras weren't active that night. Caprio chuckled. Possible, but unlikely. Most restaurants have cameras running 24/7. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm ordering a review of Bella Vita's security footage from November 12th, 2024, between 7 and 8 p.m. If it shows what Mr. Russo says it shows, we're going to have a very different conversation. If it doesn't, well, we'll cross that bridge. Court's adjourned for 1 week. The week that followed was agonizing for both men. Daniel spent it in his small apartment, replaying the courtroom in his mind. He called Emily. finally telling her about the case. "Dad, why didn't you tell me?" she asked, her voice breaking. "I gave you that card so you feel special, not this." "I didn't want you to worry," Monty said, "but I'm fighting for something bigger now." Vincent, meanwhile, was unraveling. He'd lied about the cameras. Bella Vita had a full surveillance system, and he knew it. The footage would show everything. The hostess's hesitation, his own sharp words, Daniel's quiet exit. He met with Hale in a panic. "Can we delete it?" he asked. Hale stared at him, incredulous. "You're joking. That's tampering with evidence. You'll go from a civil suit to jail time." "Then what do I do?" Vincent snapped. "That veteran's got Caprio eating out of his hand." Hale leaned forward. "You tell the truth. Admit you were wrong, apologize, and settle. Caprio's all about second chances. You might still save your reputation." Vincent shook his head. "I can't. It'll ruin me. The customers, the reviews, they'll tear me apart." When court reconvened, the atmosphere was electric. Caprio took the bench, his face unreadable. "Good morning, everyone. I've reviewed the security footage from Bella Vita, provided by the defendant's counsel. It's illuminating. Let's watch." The courtroom lights dimmed, and a grainy video played on a screen. It showed Daniel entering Bella Vita, approaching the hostess, and presenting his gift card. The hostess's body language was stiff, her smile forced. Then Vincent appeared, his gestures sharp as he spoke to Daniel. The audio was faint but clear enough. "You're not a fit for our clientele. Get out before I call the cops." And then, as Daniel turned to leave, Vincent's voice, low but unmistakable, "Filthy drifter." The video ended and the room erupted in whispers. Vincent's face was ashen. Hale looked like he wanted to disappear. Daniel sat still, his eyes fixed on the floor, tears welling but not falling. Caprio cleared his throat. "Well, that settles that. Mr. Moretti, you told me, under oath, that you didn't say those words. That footage says otherwise. I'm inclined to believe Mr. Russo's account in full now. Do you have anything to say?" Vincent stood, his voice shaky. "Your Honor, I was having a bad night. I didn't mean it. I didn't know he was a veteran." Caprio's tone was calm but cutting. "You didn't know? Mr. Moretti, it shouldn't matter who he was. A man walked into your restaurant with money to spend, and you treated him like garbage. You didn't just break your own rules, you broke a basic rule of decency." Hale stood quickly. "Your Honor, my client is prepared to offer a settlement. We'd like to compensate Mr. Russo for his distress and issue a public apology." Caprio looked at Daniel. "Mr. Russo, what do you think? Is that enough for you?" Daniel took a long moment, then stood. "Your Honor, I don't want his money. I wanted to be heard. I wanted people to know what it's like to be judged for how you look, not who you are. I want him to understand that." The room was silent. Caprio nodded, a faint smile breaking through. "That's one of the most honest things I've heard in this courtroom. But I'm going to make a ruling. Mr. Moretti, you're going to pay Mr. Russo $5,000 for emotional distress. That's not a fortune, but it's a reminder. You're also going to post a public apology in the Providence Journal and on Bella Vita's website. And here's the part I think you'll like least. You're going to host a free dinner for local veterans, organized by Mr. Russo, to show this community you're capable of better." Vincent's shoulders slumped, but he nodded. "Yes, Your Honor." Caprio turned to Daniel. "Mr. Russo, you've shown a lot of courage here. I hope you know you've made a difference, not just for yourself, but for others who felt invisible. I'm proud to have you in my courtroom." Daniel's voice cracked as he spoke. "Thank you, Your Honor. That means more than you know." 3 months later, Bella Vita was packed, not with its usual clientele, but with veterans of all ages, laughing and sharing stories over plates of lasagna and tiramisu. Daniel stood at the front, welcoming each guest, his bronze star pin gleaming. Vincent was there too, quieter than usual, serving tables and listening to the veterans' stories. He'd expected the event to be a PR disaster, but something shifted as the night went on. He saw the pride in their eyes, the camaraderie, the resilience. For the first time, he felt a pang of shame that wasn't about his reputation. Emily flew in from California to attend, her arm linked with her father's. "You did good, Dad," she whispered. "You made this happen." Daniel smiled, his first real smile in months. "We did, kiddo, we did." Back in his chambers, Judge Caprio watched a news clip of the event on his phone. He chuckled, shaking his head. "That's Providence for you," he said to himself. "A little hard, a little fight, and a whole lot of pasta. The case of Russo versus Moretti became a local legend, a story of justice tempered with humanity. For Daniel, it wasn't about the money or the apology. It was about reclaiming his place in a world that had too often looked the other way. And for Vincent, it was a hard lesson in humility, one he'd carry long after the last plate was cleared.